Welcome to this third lecture on our series of videos that look at blood. In this video, we will be looking at white blood cells and platelets. This video will be a little shorter, but I hope still useful for you. So why don't we get started right away? Next, I want to take some time to talk about white blood cells. These are known as leukocytes. White blood cells are the only formed element that has a nucleus and cell organelles. As you probably remember, they make only less than 1% of the total blood volume. The main function of white blood cells is to act in the defense against diseases and pathogens. They clear foreign material, waste, and pathogens. White blood cells are classified based on whether they have granules or not in the cytoplasm. What I would like us to do next is to look at different types of white blood cells that we have. So let's have a look. Here we have these white blood cell types grouped based on whether they have granules in the cytoplasm or not. And let's review each of the white blood cell types just briefly, starting with neutrophils. So these are the most numerous ones of the lot. And if you look at neutrophils' appearance, their nucleus has multiple lobes, which stain dark. Also, when we look at the granules in the cytoplasm, we can see that these are pale red and blue in color. But there are definitely granules there, as we can see. Neutrophils are especially involved in immune defense responses. Let's look at the next one. Eosinophils as well have red granules in their cytoplasm. But note that the eosinophils nucleus, which stains dark, is rather made of two lobules. So we describe them as binucleate. These white blood cells, eosinophils, typically act against parasites. Next one, white blood cells called basophils, stained dark with binucleate appearance. And we can also see the purplish black granules in the cytoplasm. Basophils play a role in the inflammation responses, and we might use antihistamines to control this response if it is over-the-top allergic reaction. So both eosinophils and basophils often have a role in allergies. Now let's look at the two white blood cells that do not have granules in their cytoplasm. First, lymphocytes. Note that the lymphocytes are the second most numerous type of white blood cells. And we could describe them as having a large spherical nucleus and a thin rim of pale blue cytoplasm after staining. They are responsible for antibodies and immune responses, and they are named based on the site of production. T cells for thymus and B cells for bone marrow. Finally, let's consider monocytes. Monocytes have a kidney-shaped nucleus with abundant pale blue cytoplasm. Again, notice that no granules in the cytoplasm. Monocytes play a role in eating materials that should not be present. You may have heard or seen this as a monocyte engulfing the invading pathogen. So now that we have looked at all of these white blood cell types, I want to do something else with them. Let's organize them in an order of how common they are. Does that sound okay? Here we have it. And this is important as we are analyzing leukocytes and trying to remember which ones were the most common ones. And I have a trick here for you that may help. Look at the first letter of each of these when placed in an order of how common they are. When I look at this, what I see as a mnemonic is never let monkeys eat bananas. So that might help a bit. Finally, to wrap up this section on white blood cells, I do want to mention a few words about their production. We call this leukopoiesis. This is stimulated by two types of chemical messengers from red bone marrow, interleukins and CSFs, which stand for colony-stimulating factors. And your textbook provides a nice discussion on their production and a really good table too, so I will leave it to you to review that independently. And I want to mention here leukemia, which refers to the overproduction of abnormal white blood cells. Abnormally low white blood cell count, then again, is referred as leukopenia. So that's all I wanted to say about white blood cells. We will finish off this video with looking at platelets. Platelets are small cytoplasmic fragments of megakaryocytes. They have a blue staining outer region with purple granules. And the main function of platelets is to act in the clotting process. They do this by several chemicals such as serotonin, calcium, enzymes, ADP, and platelet-derived clotting factor. So what they do is to form a temporary platelet plug that helps to seal the breaks in the blood vessels. And they age really quickly, lasting for only about 10 days. That completes our review of the formed elements of the blood. And you remember that we were able to separate the plasma and formed elements by spinning the blood sample in centrifuge so that distinct layers appeared. I thank you for joining me on this video. The last thing that we have left to consider is the blood typing. And I have provided you both a theoretical background as well as a video where I demonstrate the donor matching in person. Please review these after this video. Thank you again for having worked through this video with me.